Hades, the action roguelite developed by Supergiant Games, is my favorite game. Yes, that's right, not my favorite roguelite or indie game, but actually my favorite game. It's a game not just held up by engaging gameplay, but magnificent storytelling. The story is actually relatable even though it takes place in a setting filled with the peculiar Greek mythology. I'm not a god or demigod, and yet I can still feel just like the protagonist Zagreus. Hades, being developed and published by Supergiant Games, was not preceded by success. The 3 games that came before did not have the massive success that Supergiant Games received from Hades. Each game builds on the last to get better until finally they reached the summit. Hades began early access in December 2018 until getting a full release in September 2020, with console ports coming in August of 2021. I did not begin my own journey until the beginning of 2022. With my love for video games waning, Hades changed everything. All I played before was multiplayer games with friends into the night. During the day, if time allowed, I would simply think I had nothing to play with a library of 50 plus games. The burnout was terrible. The first couple hours of my Hades adventures were a little disheartening as I opted to play on the hell difficulty. Before I knew it though, everything had changed again. I was now playing for 3 hours straight by myself, or when friends wanted to play other things. I came back from baseball, school, or just being with friends hanging out just to start run after run into the night. I was totally enthralled. I understood boons more and more, I understood the mechanics more and more, and eventually I understood how to win. On my 33rd run, I finally escaped. A 41-minute run with the Shield of Chaos, plenty of Zeus boons, and just a few Dionysus boons to keep me alive. Skipping about a year and a half to today, I now have 66 clears, 160 hours, every achievement, and have surpassed at least 22 heat on a weapon. With all that though, I still cannot say goodbye to Hades. I still come back to push my heat further, because Hades will always mean something to me. Not just a game I 100%ed, but something that made me question what I was doing. Zagreus is trying to escape the underworld and everything he knows. He wants to reach the surface, to find his mom, and even a purpose. His life is filled with gloomy people and a looming uncertainty with life. What is his purpose in the underworld? Why did his mother leave? Why will no one give him the answers? Well, Zagreus is going to find out everything he wants to, so I will too. He receives help from the Olympians, others in the underworld, as he helps them, and even from the opponents. I have felt lost for about a year now, nothing ever feeling right or interesting. The podcast was the first step in changing that. It is something I'm passionate about, from the forming of topics to even editing the audio. I still did not feel right, unfortunately, so I made the Streets of Rogue video. I made a vague script and gave it a shot. I made an attempt to escape. I might have not escaped yet, but I have learned more, and now I know what I want, so I'll be damned if I don't get it. Now, if that doesn't really resonate with you, and you're still curious about the gameplay of Hades, just allow me to give you just the gist of its functions as a roguelite and how that interacts with the story. Hades is obviously based on Greek mythology and takes place in the underworld. You are attempting to escape 5 parts: Tartarus, Asphodel, Elysium, and the Temple of the Styx. Zagreus wants to escape Hades to see the surface because he feels useless in hell, and the gods offer their support through boons. Boons are the main gameplay upgrade that you do during the runs. They change how your weapons function. You have 3 different weapons: your normal attack, your cast, and your special, while also being able to do things with your dash and a call. Now your attack depends on which weapon you picked, whether it is the sword, spear, shield, bow, fists, or railgun. To influence the boons you get or your stats, you can choose a keepsake at the start as well that can either give you which boon you're going to get, your first boon, or boost certain attacks like dodge, speed, or attack. There are also hammers. You get 2 per run that change how your weapon functions. It can change anything from how it shoots to how much ammo you get to what certain abilities do. Sometimes your cast will bounce on 10 different people, or sometimes it will explode. It really depends on what different hammers you find throughout the run. And each boon and hammer gives you 3 options to pick from, with the ability to roll boons at a later gameplay function. Besides boons and hammers you can find on runs, you can find coins to buy things from the shop or the Well of Charon, max HP hearts that increase by 25 or 50 depending on how you get them, pom-poms that give your boons of an upgrade of +1 or 2, depending on how you get them, and also various things that allow you to boost yourself in the roguelite. The main thing that you're going to be using to boost yourself is Darkness on the Mirror of Nyx. It basically allows you to get more dashes, more max HP, lifesteal, abilities from different items you pick up, and better odds to get epic, legendary, or duo boons. So definitely something you invest in, as it is a roguelite, so the more you play, the more you can upgrade yourself throughout the game. So every run, you want to start by picking what weapon you're going to use, a keepsake that you want to get a boon from to work on that weapon build, and make sure your mirror is set up to work with that build, because sometimes things like having 3 casts or having 1 cast that recharges doesn't work on every build. So you'll kind of see that. A later feature is also aspects on the weapons that gives them certain abilities, while some completely change how the weapon functions. The shield, for instance, gets one that loads casts into it. So when you do a bull rush, which is when you hold attack and then dash forward with the shield out blocking everything, it drops all your casts on one enemy, dealing huge damage. So a little bit different than just throwing your casts. And after you've selected everything you need to begin your run, there is one more feature, and that is playing on just normal difficulty or hell mode. You have to select normal difficulty or hell mode at the start of your save. You can't change it in the middle. I originally started playing on just normal difficulty, but after 10 or so runs, I decided I liked the gameplay enough to play for hell. So I restarted my whole save and started playing on the hell that I currently play on. And what hell difficulty is it sets no invincibility frames when you get hit. So sometimes you'll see like little things, projectiles that will hit you a bunch at once. Usually if you're playing on normal, they'll hit you and you'll get like a 1 second cooldown, so you won't get hit a ton. But if you're playing on hell, they can just all hit you for like 40 damage in a matter of a second. Hell mode also starts you on your level heat gauge being 5, which means you have hard labor on, which all foes deal bonus damage of 20%. Lasting consequence, any healing effects restore less of your life total than usual, 25%. Jury summons, foes and standard encounters appear in greater numbers, 20%. In calisthenics program, all foes have higher life totals, 15%. So these are going to be on no matter what when you're playing on hell, with also the personal ability, meaning you don't have the brief invulnerability after a burst of damage, which we talked about earlier. And then when you beat your run, you would go to your 6 heat gauge, which means you'd have to turn another thing on. And there's plenty of different conditions to turn on that always just make the game harder. Some things more so than others. For instance, extreme measures is one I always run up to 2, so I get 3 heat gauge points to that. So playing on 8 heat is no problem for me with that, but it helps me also climb high with just a free 3, because it makes region bosses gain a new technique, starting from Tartarus up. So 2, it means the Hydra and Meg have 2 extra techniques, and I've just learned how to play with them, so those aren't hard. But something like damage control, which makes all foes have a blue heart, making them ignore initial instances of damages, 1 hit per rank. You can put that on 2, but you can also just leave it on 1. That is kind of hard to play around, because if you're doing a big one-shot build, you have to hit them twice no matter what, or 3 times, because the hearts will mean they won't take damage. And also tight deadline, which puts a timer on how fast you have to beat your run, starting at 9 minutes per region, going to 7, going to 5, which 5 being pretty hard, but it's worth 6 heat gauge for that, so it's pretty good if you can do that. And this is also the reason why it was originally impossible to beat the game with the max amount of heat level, until recently somebody accomplished that, and the maximum heat level gauge being 64 with everything turned on. A massive accomplishment in the Hades community. So if the gameplay in this video is exciting you and what I've talked about makes it even better, I really do recommend hopping in and just trying to beat your first run. I think it's worth starting on maybe normal just to get a feel of things and see if you really like the game and want to put in all the hours to beat it. But, you know, you can always start on hell and enjoy the hell, really. I also just feel like I have to mention that Hades 2 was announced, and while there's no release date yet, they did do a gameplay reveal trailer, and most likely there'll be an early access phase like there was for the original Hades, so be on the lookout for that. Well, that's it for this video. I hope you have a good day, and check out the podcast if you're interested. It's me and my friend Banana, and we just talk about random things, mainly in the gaming industry, but also just our passions. So really recommend checking it out if you're interested in this. And yeah, appreciate y'all. Take care.